Good morning. Second year Bcom Computer Applications, semester 4, Web Technologies, Unit 5, XML, Introduction to XML. So we already started this chapter yesterday. So today we start with another PPT. So what are the contents of this unit? XML means Extended Markup Language. Introduction, creating XML documents, XML style sheets, hyperlinks in XML document object model, XML hyperlinks in XML, and XML document object model, and XML query language. So we start with some PPT. So introduction. So what is the introduction? Introduction. So what is XML? XML means extensible markup language. XML means extensible markup language developed from SGML, and it is a meta markup language. Generally it is also called as a meta markup language. Definitions of so generally XML covers both the deficiencies of HTML and SGML. So it follows some lax syntax rules. So many complex applications and problems are generally solved by using XML and featured in XML. So basically we know that HTML is a markup language, whereas XML is used to define markup languages. So what is the difference between HTML and XML? So HTML is a markup language, whereas XML is used to define markup languages. Means we can use by using XML we may develop various markup languages. XML can be written by hand or generated by computer, so useful for data exchange. So mainly XML is mainly used to XML is mainly used to develop so XML is mainly XML is mainly used to develop database applications and database purposes only, to create large complex applications, database applications. And XML can be written by hand. Generally XML scripts can be written either by hand or by using some database scripts are like that. Next is markup languages defined in XML are known as applications. Generally the markup languages, so generally the markup languages defined in XML are known as applications. Markup languages defined in XML are known as applications. HTML is a markup language, whereas XML is used to define markup languages, means multiple. And whereas HTML is a single markup language, whereas whereas XML is used as multiple markup languages. So that is the main difference of the XML and HTML in between. So what is the syntax? What is the syntax of XML? What is the syntax of XML? So yesterday only we learn all these things about XML, what is the data set and the database applications of XMLs, like that. So today we continue with this PPT. So XML, so what are the syntax? What is the syntax of XML? So levels of syntax. So XML documents are generally well formed documents conform to basic XML rules. So XML documents or XML files are well formed documents conform to basic XML rules, and valid documents are well formed and also conform a schema which defines details of the allowed content. So generally the documents XML documents, generally the XML documents follow some schema. What is a schema? Schema is nothing but some structure. Schema is nothing but it is a some structure or some rules framed, or a set of rules framed to create documents. So well formed, what are well formed XML documents? Means all begin tags have a matching end tag. So generally in XML documents, documents in XML documents or in XML also we may use some tags. We may use some tags, and in XML also we use every XML document also starts or begins with some tag and ends with some the same tag. So all in XML, what is well formed XML documents means generally all XML documents follows some rules, predefined rules. So all XML documents begins with all XML documents begin with some tag and have a matching end tag also. So every XML generally in XML also there is a beginning or a starting tag and ending tag. Next, if a begin tag is inside an element, the matching end tag is also. So if we use, or if you start, or if you begin tag, there should be, or the matching tag should be used. Matching set should be used at the appropriate place. There is one root tag that contains all the other tags in a document. So a root tag is also there. What is a root tag? Root tag should be used, or root tag is used. What is a root tag? A root tag is used. A root tag is used generally. It contains generally the root tag contains all the it contains all the other tags to be defined inside it. So attributes must have a value assigned. Attributes must have a value assigned. The value must be quoted. So attributes must have assigned, and a value must have a value assigned. The value must be quoted. So what is an attribute? Attributes means some properties, some property of the tag. Some property of the tag is called as an attribute. So next, there is one root tag that contains all the other tags in a document. So generally every XML document may contain one root tag. In the root tag all the other tags, generally in the root tag only all the other tags are defined. Attributes must have a value assigned, the value must be quoted. So attributes means some parameters or some values or the tags, all the tags have some values, and these values are generally written in inside the quotation marks. The characters less than and greater than ampersand can appear with their special meaning. So validity is tested again a schema. So discuss it. So next, so what is the structure of a XML document? What is the structure of a XML document? So what is the basic syntax or what is the basic structure of a XML documents? So generally XML, all XML files are, so what are XML files? Generally XML files contain some schemas, follow some schema or structure, and they have different used in generally inside XML documents we use various paired tags means beginning tag and ending tag, and a separate special tag is called root tag is also used in XML documents. So next is what is the structure of a XML document? So generally all the XML documents or files are auxiliary files. Auxiliary means secondary files. Primary and secondary. Primary means are main files to the computer, and auxiliary means secondary files. So it is also called as some schema file. Schema means some structure or a record. Schema means some structure or a record. DTT or XML schema or one of several others. So XML files are also known as some style files, cascading style sheets or CSS files. They follow some special software, they used some syntax called XSLT. So all these are the basic structure of a basic structure. So breaking file up means generally XML files documents have some entities and syntaxes, and they follow some character data also, follow some character data like this. So next is document type definitions. So what are the XML document type definitions? So generally what are the definitions? Means a set of declarations. Generally XML documents have some set of declarations and definitions, and define tags, attributes and entities. So all the XML documents have various tags, user defined tags, not to system tags. They have some tags and user defined tags, some and again tags have some attributes and some entities. Specify the order and nesting of tags. So XML document should follow XML document should follow some same order, or XML documents specify the order and nesting of tags means all the XML documents have the same order defined and used. And nesting of tags means what is the nesting of tags? Means one tag is written inside another tag. Generally one tag written in inside another tag is called as nesting of tags. So they follow some predefined or a specific order, and specify which attributes can be used with which tags. So attributes means some values or parameters. What are attributes? Attributes are some values or parameters or properties. So each tag have separate attributes or properties, and there are some values also assigned to the attributes, and generally these values are written in some within quotes. So syntax. So what is the general syntax? General syntax is like this. So declaring elements. So another term. So what are the different terms used in XML documents? While creating XML documents means some schema, XML schema, schema or a structure to be followed. So all the XML documents should follow, should have follow some schema or a structure, and they have some user defined tags. Generally they have they are written, or XML documents have user defined documents or user defined tags, and declaring. Generally XML documents also have some elements. XML documents also have some elements. Elements means some attributes or some properties. So what is the general syntax? So what is the general syntax of the XML document? So less than exclamatory element space some element name space some content description greater than. So this is the general syntax of the attribute. General syntax uses general syntax of the attributes used in XML documents. So what is the syntax of the XML documents? Less than exclamatory, as we written in HTML. So less than exclamatory element element space element name space some content description. So content description specifies what tags may appear inside the named element. Generally content description specifies what tags may appear inside the named element, and whether there may be any plain text in the context. So next, this is the same syntax. This is the syntax to be followed for all the tags. Next is sequences of tags. Generally next is sequences of tags means so there must be all the XML documents should follow some sequence or some order, to be followed. So some sequence or some order to be followed, and alternate tags are also used in all on XML documents, and multiplicity like that. So declaring attributes. So how to declare attributes? How to declare attributes or some parameters? How to declare elements? So there are basic concepts are two. First one is element, and second one is called as attributes. So what are elements and what are attributes? So generally what is the how to declare attributes in a XML document. So general syntax is less than some attribute space some element name like that. So declaring entities. So what are entities? So general syntax is less than exclamatory entity space some entity name within quotes some value. So this is the syntax of declaring entities. So another term frequently we used is DTD, as we already discussed in the previous class. What is DTD? Data description definition tags. So internal and external DTTs. What are DTTs? Means data defining and definition. So a document type declaration. DTT means document type declaration. DTT means document type declaration. So a DTT can either contain declarations directly or can refer to another file. So basically there are two types of DTTs. One is internal and the second one is external. So means here by using DTTs or by using these type of declarations, we may define or call some XML files. XML. So a public identifier can also be specified, that would be mapping to a system identifier. So namespaces, schemas. So another frequently term we used in XML documents. Another frequently term we generally use in XML documents is called as schemas. XML XML schemas. So what is another term we frequently used? XML schemas. So what is a schema? A schema is nothing but a structure, record structure. So schema is a generic term for any description of an XML content model. So schema is a generic term for any description of an XML content model. DTTs have several defects. They do not use XML syntax. They do not support namespaces. Data types cannot be strictly specified, like that. So schema fundamentals. So what are the basic rules? What are the how do you create schemas in XML documents? So documents that conform to a schema's rules are considered instances of that schema. And schema purposes. So what is the purpose of using schema? Structure of instances and data types of elements and attributes. And XML schemas support namespaces. The XML schema language itself is a set of XML tags. The application being described is another set of tags. So what is schema? Schema is the structure of a record, or a structure of some supporting document, or a structure of some database is called as a schema. Generally the structure of a database, the structure of a some file is called as a schema. So generally a schema have some syntax and some tags like XML tags, and generally the schema supports some data types, attributes, elements, and they have some structure, predefined structure, like that. So defining schemas. So how to define schemas? How to define a schema? So the root of an XML schema, document is the schema tag. So generally the root of an XML schema document, is the schema tag. And what are the attributes? What attributes means some parameters or properties. So what are the attributes or parameters or properties used with schema tag? So XML NS attributes and other attributes also used. So defining a schema instance. So how to define a schema instance or a copy of a schema? So so next is an overview of data types. So what are the different data types used or available? What are the different data types used in XML documents? So data types are of two kinds. Basically data types are of two kinds. First one is simple data type with string constant content. So we may use some type of data types in XML documents. So basically XML data types are of two kinds. First one is called as simple data types with string content, and complex data type with elements, attributes and string content. So how to create a data types, or how to create some structure in XML documents. So basically it may be done with two types. First one is called as by writing by using a single variable, and some string content is generally used inside it. Second one is writing complex data types. Second type of data types is generally used with writing some complex data types, with elements, attributes and string content. So writing some complex data types with some elements means some properties, attributes and string content. Next, second one is predefined types. Next one is predefined predefined types means what are predefined types means they are generally already defined or already used, and system defined, or system ready to define tags. So first one is primitive and second one is derived. Primitive data types means they are primary data types. They are also called as a primitive, means primary data types, and it means we can directly use them. And derived means derived data types are, as you know, that they can be formed from the primary or primitive data types. Text restrictions and anonymous and named types. All these are the other types of data types. So simple types. So what are the simple data types? What are the simple data types? Named types can be used to give the type of attribute. Elements or attributes with simple type may have default values. New simple types can be defined by restriction of base types. So this is a simple type. And complex types are generally used to create some complex databases or complex records. So definition of a complex type can specify elements in a content, means either sequence or choice. Individual elements may specify a multiplicity, attributes that can appear, and whether plain text is allowed in the context like that. An element definition can be associated with type by. So generally complex types are also used. By using complex types we may create various structures and complex structures and other types of definitions in XML. So validating instances of schema.